The Quick Access toolbar appears above the ribbon menu system in the upper left corner of your screen. If you've just installed Excel, or if you've not used this feature, you'll see 3 buttons in it. The one to the left is a button for Save. Notice a keystroke shortcut there too. Next one is Undo. It too has a keystroke shortcut. And also to the right of that, Redo. For the moment, we can't use it. But you can add buttons to this. And the general idea is this is for features that you use frequently that you always want to have available. The Quick Access toolbar can be changed in a number of different ways. The rightmost button, the drop arrow, gives us some choices. It might be convenient to have a File Open button here, so let's add Open. Some of the other choices here you might consider as well, maybe Print Preview, that's another one. And if you do sorting a lot, maybe ascending sorting is more common, you might make that choice as well. And all we're doing here is putting additional buttons on the Quick Access toolbar. You can get to other commands and features as well. One way is to click this drop arrow again and go to the bottom. You'll see More Commands. And this leads us initially into a group called Popular Commands. Lots of choices in here. If any one of these represents a feature that you use frequently, you might want to consider adding it to the Quick Access toolbar. Now, to the right, we see buttons. These reflect what we've already done with the Quick Access toolbar. The top-down order there, Save, Undo, Redo, Open, corresponds with the left-to-right order of the buttons that are there. Now, we might want to add New File. There's a keystroke shortcut for this, but maybe you create these often and you like to have that icon. Here's New File. Click it right here, then Add, and it too will appear in the Quick Access toolbar. It'll be at the bottom of the list there. As we see it here, it's top-down. But as I said earlier, it's a left to right order, so that will be the rightmost button if we click OK here. We might want to consider some other buttons as well. Here's a Save As button. That could come in handy. Maybe click that, add that as well. And as you're looking at these two, you might want to consider the order. Now again, as we consider this top-down order, maybe Save As belongs right after Save. So we'll click the up arrow to the right here. We're moving this upward here, and that will mean moving it leftward in the display. There we are. Now, in addition to popular commands, and there's about 30 or 40 of these, click the drop arrow and possibly consider commands not in the ribbon. And here we see quite a few more, maybe a few hundred. And as you scroll up and down, again, be thinking of features that you use frequently. And it would take you a long time to really explore this. And this might not be the best way to consider adding new buttons, although it's certainly not bad. And sometimes you know specifically a button that you do want to add. And believe it or not, there's a larger list. Click the drop arrow again. How about all commands? And this just seems to go on and on and on. And I haven't really counted these, but I bet it's about 1,000 or so. So lots of choices there as well too. And some really obscure ones too, involving different kinds of drawing tools and techniques. It just seems to go on forever. And there's another approach too. We can go to File tab, Home tab. We can see the buttons actually categorized by where they would appear in the ribbon menu system. And the File tab, which is a little bit different than the others, nevertheless has some choices here. You might want a button for Close. There's Close File. Let's add that too. And you might want to put that next to Open or after it. So if it appears up here, let's click the down arrow here, move it downward. Maybe you want it right after Open. Open and Close, and maybe move it up one and so on, back and forth. So certainly different ways to get to different features here. Let's click OK. And we got a few more buttons. Occasionally somebody asks me, how many buttons can you actually put up here? And I think it's actually unlimited. I was playing with this once and I added about 30 buttons. It took up most of the top of the screen, and then off to the right, there was another little indicator out there and I pressed it and then some remaining buttons appeared. So I don't think that should be any kind of a goal to have more of these. The general idea behind this should be, I have a button that I need here. I use the feature frequently. I don't necessarily want to go through the menu system. And there's another way to approach all this as well too. Suppose you're working with multiple files a lot. Now I've got one file open right now. If I want to open another one, I do have a button up here, right there. You saw me add it earlier, New. I can press that or Control N. I've got a new file open here. And maybe I want another one open. I'll do it again. So now I've got 3. And at different times, I want to go back to the other file that I was working with. And the command way is on the View tab. Switch windows. Maybe I'll go back to chapter 2 that I was working with. Now, if I've got 3 or 4 or 5 files open and I frequently want to move back and forth, I can certainly go to the View tab, but why do I have to keep going there to get to this button? Nothing really wrong with that, but on the other hand, it takes some time. So with any button, in the ribbon menu system. No matter which tab it's on, you can right-click it and add it to the Quick Access toolbar. And in a certain sense, that might be the better approach as to how you approach using the actual Quick Access toolbar. In other words, you've come to realize that a certain command, or let's say a certain button here, is something you use often, and you want it available no matter which tab is active. For many Excel users, the Home tab is active most often. But if I want to get to that feature that allows me to jump to other files or see which other files are open, if it's on the Quick Access toolbar, I don't have to go to the View tab. So here's that other button, and maybe I've copied some data or I want to just jump over to the other workbook. There it is. And again, be thinking of other buttons that you use frequently. Why not have them available all the time simply by right-clicking? You could do it with one of the buttons here in the charts group here or anything out here. Maybe Slicer is something you use a lot. Right-click, add it to the Quick Access toolbar. Over time, maybe you'll realize that some of these buttons aren't used very often. You say, well, I don't really need that up there. Right-click and remove from Quick Access toolbar. If you're working on a computer that maybe somebody else has been using for a while and there are a bunch of buttons up there that you don't really need, and maybe lots of them, you could right-click anywhere in the Quick Access toolbar, customize the Quick Access toolbar, and then in the right portion here, down the right-hand side, you'll see a button called Reset Only Quick Access Toolbar. Click that, click Yes, and we're down to the original appearance right there. Click OK. So there are lots of different choices here for controlling what appears in the Quick Access toolbar and what you might want to consider using there. And you've got complete control over it. On the current worksheet, even though there's no data in it right now, I'm seeing almost all of row 25 down there. But you can right-click the Quick Access toolbar and show it below the ribbon. Now, the advantage is it's closer to the data, as we'll see here, but now I'm seeing just barely the 23rd row. So I've lost a couple of rows there. Sometimes that's important. But now the Quick Access toolbar, even though I've gotten rid of some of the buttons, and no matter how many buttons are here, you can put it below the ribbon. So that's a thought too. I think most people tend to keep this above the ribbon, so I'll put it back there. Right-click, and now show the Quick Access toolbar above the ribbon. So it's a great feature. Put the buttons there that you need, the features that you use most often in the Quick Access toolbar.